6, a woman is found guilty for the gruesome murder of her own mother.
Now, this is a case that we've been following very closely throughout the week. The murder happening more than a year ago in Hyattsville. The suspect, Candace Craig, killed her mother after an argument related to fraudulent credit charges.
Burned and dismembered her body into more than 67.
May 27, 2023. A quiet Maryland afternoon. You're standing in a neighborhood where nothing ever happens. Then a neighbor sees smoke, black smoke, rising from a backyard. They call the fire department immediately. By the time firefighters arrive, the fire's already out. No arsonist in sight. Nothing to report. But here's promise one. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what that smoke was hiding. And here's promise two. You'll hear the exact moment investigators realized a devoted daughter was lying to their faces. For days before that smoke, this ordinary house was already a crime scene. You just didn't know it yet. Meet Margaret Craig. Her family calls her Auntie Joyce. She's 71, diabetic, and she's survived multiple strokes. She needs full-time care, and she gets it from the person you'd least expect to hurt her. Her daughter, Candace, 44 years old, lives with her, cooks for her, watches over her every single day. By every outward appearance, Candace is the perfect caregiver, the perfect daughter, the kind of devotion families pray for. She seems to have been the perfect daughter to the perfect mom. So, when Margaret goes missing, you'd expect Candace to panic, to call police the second something feels wrong. That's not what happens. Instead, Candace waits. She tells worried family members Margaret's just at a friend's house. Nothing to worry about. She invokes an unofficial rule. Wait 72 hours before filing a report. Everyone accepts it, for now. But why would a caregiver, someone who tracks her mother's every move, suddenly not know where she is? Why does a woman who can barely walk on her own simply vanish without a trace? If this case is already getting under your skin, hit subscribe now, because it only gets stranger from here. Because what looks like a missing persons case is about to become something no one in this family can explain away. Her daughter said she'd only been gone a few hours. Police would soon learn that wasn't close to true. To understand how a missing persons case became a murder investigation, you have to go back to the first day anyone raised the alarm. May 31st. Margaret's nephew hasn't heard from her in a week. That's not normal, and he knows it. He drives to the house. He knocks. Nobody answers. So, he does the only thing he can think of. He calls the police for a welfare check. At the same time, he texts Candace directly. He tells her police are coming, just to be safe. Candace's response: a single thumbs up emoji. Pause. Think about that for a second. Her mother's missing, and she responds with an emoji. When family members gather at the house, Candace tells them Margaret's staying with a friend. Nothing to worry about. She repeats the same line to police. Wait 72 hours. Then file a report if she's still gone. And here's promise one delivered. That 72-hour claim becomes the excuse that stalls this entire investigation. The officer leaves. No report filed. No further questions asked. Margaret is an adult, after all. But 2 days later, on June 2nd, another family member calls 911. They're still not convinced. Somebody did come forward and contacted the police department and asked for a welfare check. Officers arrive at 1:37 p.m. Candace answers the door. She lets them in without hesitation. She seems calm, almost relaxed, like she has absolutely nothing to hide. It hasn't technically been 72 hours yet, she reminds them. Everything's still within her timeline. But something inside that house is about to contradict every word she said. You need to understand something about Margaret's health first. She's vulnerable, confused at times, occasionally unpredictable. Candace uses this constantly. Every question about Margaret's whereabouts gets deflected back to her mother's fragile condition. It's convenient, isn't it? A woman too sick to speak for herself, and the daughter controlling every narrative. Officers walk through the house. They look around. On the surface, nothing seems out of place. But they're about to sit down with two people whose stories should match perfectly. Should being the key word. What police found? Behind that front door would turn a missing persons case into something no one in that family could explain away. By the time investigators sat down with Candace and Celia separately, they weren't just looking for Margaret. They were looking for the truth. Investigators split them up. Candace in one room, her 19-year-old daughter Celia in another. This is standard procedure. If the stories are true, they should line up without any coaching. Celia goes first. She says she last saw her grandmother Tuesday morning, right before leaving for work. She heard the front door open. She assumed Margaret stepped out, like she'd done a few times before. Simple, consistent, nothing alarming yet. Then investigators talk to Candace, and her story doesn't match. Not even close. Candace says she saw Margaret on Monday, a full day earlier than her own daughter claims. She says she brought her food, hamburgers, and chicken from the grill. A quiet, ordinary evening. We observe her touching her neck and her back again, like she can't get comfortable. That's not just a physical tic. That's the kind of stress response investigators are trained to notice. Here's promise to delivered. This is the exact moment investigators know these two stories cannot both be true. Let's break down 5 things that don't add up. 1. Candace and Celia disagree on the actual day they last saw Margaret. 2. 5. Margaret Celia herself says it's bank account in days, to go days without seeing her she left willingly. If Candace really every transaction on her why doesn't she know a single verified fact about not where Margaret? 4. Celia, without even realizing the money, keeps undercutting and her own mother's version claims of events. To know nothing. Is that normal for you? Would you think that was normal? No, that's not normal. 2 people, 1 house, 2 completely different timelines. Someone in that house isn't telling the truth. Candace kept saying they were close, but her own daughter was about to say something very different. If you'd already caught the contradiction between their timelines before, investigators did. Drop it in the comments below. Bridge, the contradictions were adding up, but it was one confession about money that changed everything. Investigators push harder now. They ask Candace directly about her relationship with her mother. Her answer surprises even them. It's so bad. Not complicated, not strained. She says it's bad, in the same breath as claiming they're close. Then another detail surfaces. Candace hasn't held a steady job in nearly a decade, yet she claims she still gets paychecks. From where, exactly, nobody can confirm. Here's the detail that changes this entire case. Margaret had recently discovered something. Years of money quietly disappearing from her own accounts. She confronted Candace about it, directly, face to face, inside that same house. That confrontation is the moment everything changes. Not a stranger, not an accident, a conversation about stolen money. If a detail like that just gave you chills, subscribe now. This case only gets darker from here. Every image you had of the devoted, dedicated caregiver collapses in this single moment. The hamburgers on the grill, the gentle check-ins, the calm answers to police, all of it recontextualized. This wasn't devotion. This was control. And when that control was threatened, Candace made a choice. Celia, just 19 years old, gets pulled into what happens next. Her mother enlists her to help. Together, they work to dispose of a body inside a home built on trust. Months later, a jury delivers its verdict. Candace Craig is convicted of murder. She's sentenced to life without parole. No release date, no second chances. Celia takes a different path. She testifies against her own mother in court. For her cooperation, she receives probation instead of prison time. 1 daughter killed her mother. 1 granddaughter helped hide it, then chose to tell the truth. It's becoming clear here that Candace is the closest person in the world to her mom. That closeness is exactly what made this so easy to hide for so long. The case was closed in court, but for the family left behind, nothing about it felt finished. Was Celia's probation justice, or should she have faced more? Tell us what you think. Bridge. The court case was over, But the story of what happened in that house was far from finished. Let's go back to where we started. That plume of smoke, rising over a quiet Maryland backyard. You know now exactly what it was. Candace, trying to destroy the evidence of what she'd done. A grill, a chainsaw, ordered online just days earlier. Tools meant for a backyard, used for something else entirely. The fire department found nothing that day. No proof, no answers, no reason for concern. But for days earlier, everything Margaret's family feared had already happened inside that house. Here's what stays with you after a case like this. The system had multiple chances to catch it. A nephew's wellness check, a second 911 call, 2 separate visits from police officers. Each time, Candace's calm explanation was enough. Each time, officers walked away satisfied. That's the uncomfortable question this case leaves behind. How many wellness checks end the exact same way? Celia occupies a strange, uncomfortable space in this story. Accomplice in the moment, witness in the courtroom. 19 years old, asked to help hide a crime, then asked to help convict the person who committed it. Some questions here never get fully answered. How long had the theft actually been going on? Did other family members suspect something sooner and simply didn't act? We may never know for certain what accountability really looks like for elder financial abuse is a question far bigger than one house in Maryland. If this case affected you the way it affected us, subscribe and join us for the next one, because we cover cases like this every single week, the ones the headlines move past too quickly. Before we go, let's remember who this story is actually about. Not the trial, not the verdict. Margaret Craig, Auntie Joyce, a woman who survived strokes, diabetes, and decades of caring for her own family. She deserved to be cared for in return. Instead, she was betrayed by the person closest to her. Do you think the 72-hour wellness check standard needs to change for vulnerable elderly adults? Let us know below. Her name was Margaret Craig, Auntie Joyce to everyone who loved her. She deserves to be remembered as more than a case file.